Hello and welcome. I'm Jenna-D Scott, and I will be your host on this presentation where I go over the 14 indisputable facts about the income tax, what you need to know. I call myself the futuristic tax coach because we are delving into a realm of the tax code that is not typically ventured into by your average normie muggle person. So congratulations for making it here. And without further ado, let's begin. First off, I need to give my disclaimer that this is not legal, financial, or tax quote unquote advice. Now, the fact that I'm saying quote unquote means that the word actually means more than what you think it means, or less, or does not mean what many people think. But it is legal jargon, and so I want to be sure that anyone partaking or consuming this information is being responsible, self-governing, and doing their own research and their own due diligence. That being said, let's continue. So in this presentation, I want to teach you or introduce you to the idea that there are these little known income tax secrets that can save you big. Now, every year, millions of Americans file their tax returns, giving up a hefty percentage of their earnings to the government. And many do not know that what many do not know is that only certain types of income are actually taxable per US law. So these payments are going in, and oftentimes they are based on misclassified earnings. I want to help to correct that by dispelling these myths. So we'll start off with 10 key facts, and at the end, in order to make it the 14, we've got 4 misunderstandings that people commonly have about the income tax. So the 10 key facts that we're going to go over is fact 1, income tax is not a direct tax. Fact 2, the legal definition of income. Fact 3, income tax when it began in 1862. Fact 4, World War II and how that led to the public's perception about income tax. Fact 5, the tax code and its complexity. Fact 6, W-2s and 1099 forms. Discuss those briefly. Fact 7, the 1040 return. Fact 8, tax code verbiage. Fact 9, filing caveats you did not know, likely, unless you've seen this before, or you very unlikely that you've seen it, so most people have it. Fact 10, taxes are based on self-reporting. So fact number 1, the income tax is not a direct tax. So what? What does that mean? Well, federal income tax is an excise tax, meaning it only applies to specific types of income, particularly income connected to federal privileges. So there are 2 categories of tax, 2 major categories of tax. One is direct and one is indirect. Now, indirect taxes, the excise tax or the luxury tax or the duty tax, they're all similar. They all fall under the indirect tax category. Whereas the majority of people have been assuming that income tax is a direct tax. Fact 2, definitions matter. Income has a specific legal definition. When the tax code refers to income, quote unquote income, it doesn't mean all money you earn. Instead, it refers to income gained from federal activities or privileges. If you don't work for or receive money from the federal government, in a specific capacity, the nature of your income may be different from what the IRS considers taxable. Fact 3. The income tax has been around since 1862. Now, if you know your American history, you'll recognize that time period around when the Civil War happened. So while the 16th Amendment, which was drafted and put into effect in 1913, allowed the federal government to tax income, it didn't change what type of income was taxable. Until the 1940s, only about 4% of Americans, the 1940s, pay attention to that. Remember that. World War II, interesting what was happening in the world. Maybe we didn't get the whole picture about that. Those working with or for the federal government paid income taxes annually because they had a privilege of access to the resources, connections, etc., and were profiting from doing public service. So it makes sense that they would have paid a tax, especially in light of the war, etc. Fact number 3, how it began. World War II changed public perception. During World War II, Americans were encouraged to pay income taxes as part of the war effort. Many complied, and paying income tax became mainstream, you could say, or more common. Fact number 5, the tax code has become extremely complex. Today, the tax code contains over 3 million words, making it difficult for most people to fully understand or even read it, let alone. A wage withholding system was created, and tax preparation became a billion-dollar industry. Now, obviously, I'm greatly simplifying these things, but the grift was basically, I don't want to say codified, but it was integrated, enmeshed into our bureaucratic functions and Department of Labor functions and all of that. Fact number 6, W-2 and 1099 forms are very often misunderstood. These tax forms are meant for reporting payments made in connection with federal activities. Many employers and payers don't realize that when they issue these forms, they legally categorize the recipient's earnings as taxable federal income. Without correcting these records, these payers, these quote-unquote so-called employers, again, definitions matter, words matter, these who assume that they are the employers, these payers, they can actually be held liable for taxes on income that may not actually be taxable. So it's kind of a kerfluffle there, let's just say, where all the liability is being placed upon the employer, the so-called employer, and the employee, and not the IRS, who is enforcing this by putting pressure on the employer. Fact number 7, the purpose of the 1040 tax return. The IRS Form 1040 is designed to let you correct any incorrect income reports made about you. If you don't file a return, you waive your right to challenge how your income was categorized. We don't want to do that. I know there's people that want to protest and sidestep it, but not just because it's what I do, but because it's logical to either get back your withholdings or at least flag and let the IRS know, hey, I'm a participating member of society and I'm one of we the people, and, transparency. This is what happened this year, and I know who I am. So getting a little ahead of myself, but there's nothing to be afraid of when you know how to do it correctly is basically what I'm trying to say. That's where we come in. Fact number 8, the tax code is kind of misleading. The language is kind of misleading because Again, like I said in the beginning, with the quote unquotes, terms like income, wages, employee, employer, and trade or business have specific legal definitions in the tax code that differ from their everyday meanings, meaning people assume these words apply to all earnings, but that is not necessarily the case. Fact number 9, filing a tax return is a legal declaration. This could be why some people are scared of filing it, because they're making a legal declaration and they don't know what they're declaring. They don't comprehend it. So when you submit a 1040 return, you confirm under penalty of perjury that your income falls under the IRS definition of taxable earnings. If this isn't true, filing this way may not be in your best interest. Now, many people assume that it is taxable earnings. They are incorrect. They would be erroneous in most cases. As I've defined in the earlier facts, it's very narrow, the definition of whose income is actually taxable. Okay, so, but you're basically lying. You don't mean to. You're trying to do the right thing, but you're basically lying when you sign your tax return under penalty of perjury that it's taxable earnings in most cases, for most people. And fact number 10, the tax system is based on self-reporting. The IRS operates on a system of voluntary compliance, meaning they accept what you report unless you formally dispute incorrect tax assessments. If you don't challenge misclassified income, the government assumes that you agree with it. And so the grift has continued for decades. Now, we're going to go through a quick tax fact. It looks like I'm a little bit lopsided here, but that's okay. So these are 4 common misunderstandings about the income tax, and I've just formatted it in terms of frequently asked questions or a fact. So number 1, I read that there's no law requiring me to pay income tax. Now, I get this a lot, especially in the truther / sovereign movement. And I'm hesitating to say sovereign because a lot of people associate the word sovereign now with sovereign citizen, which is an oxymoron. And I believe that it was actually an intentional obfuscation of the true meaning of the word sovereign, which is where you are self-governing, you are the king of yourself, just the way God intended it to be. But because it's been mixed up with crazy people and, belligerent people, and I guess we could argue over the word, what belligerent means, but you know what I mean when the common understanding of what belligerent means. They're just looking for controversy. They're looking to argue. They're angry. They're upset. That is not what we are doing here, to be perfectly clear. We are professionals, and we are doing things lawfully, legally, ethically, and intelligently. So this first question here, that there's no law requiring me to pay income tax. The answer is the law does require tax payments, but only on specific types of income, like I said. But it's still a good idea to file that 1040 report in many, many cases. There's some where you don't need to. We actually have another tax product, which I don't cover in this video, and I don't have any information about it yet other than on the website, called Lawful Money Redemption, where you don't, in the beginning, maybe you file, but then you don't file after a while. So, it just depends on your situation. But in most people's cases, it is a good idea to file that 1040 or report that 1040 every year to correct any incorrections and make sure that what you have earned is not misclassified. Question number 2. I thought the 16th Amendment wasn't ratified. Another kind of sovereign citizen argument out there. The amendment is officially recognized, but it didn't change the legal definition of taxable income. That's all you really need to worry about. So it doesn't matter, right? It's really just bureaucratic policy making for the corporate side of the government managing their things. That's another rabbit hole I won't go down right now, but that's in a gist why that happened. Okay, question number 3. Filing a tax return makes me part of the system. Again, these are all protestations or objections from people that are living in fear and feeling like they have to hide themselves from a government. And that's, again, another discussion. Maybe I'll talk about it on my podcast someday. But we'd like to be above board, and we know what the law is, so we're not worried about these kinds of things. So the answer is filing without disputing incorrect classifications can create unnecessary tax liability for yourself. So there's a lot more to it when you get into reading, the 1040 itself and what you're signing, what that actually means, look up the definitions. But suffices to say that you're already in the system pretty much if you're conducting commerce, if you have a driver's license, if you have a social security number, or your estate is in the system. So why not learn how to administer it properly? Okay. Question number 4. This would make the 14th fact of the indisputable facts of the income tax code for this presentation. So 4th is question, isn't it better to pay taxes and avoid trouble? There we go with the Stockholm Syndrome, right? And making, I don't want to mock anyone because everyone has their own special reasons. In my circle, in my personal circle, one of my, clients / family members likes to travel out of the country, quite a bit and for, extended periods of time. And they did not want a tax issue to, not even necessarily that they're going to cross each other, but they didn't want that to impact them adversely. And so, that was their concern. And we recognize that people have concerns, and we are willing to work with you on a custom level so that you are able to know that you're absolutely secure. And the key takeaway that I would like you to remember is that not all income is taxable. The U.S. Constitution prohibits taxing a person's right to earn a living through work or trade, right? Because that would be slavery. Think about that. Many people believe the income tax is unconstitutional, but the reality is more complex. The tax code itself provides a way for individuals to correctly report their income classification and avoid unnecessary taxation. Again, this is going to be a shift in the mindset, a shift in the perspective. If you're coming from that truther / sovereign citizen / state national mindset where, everyone's out to get you, to one of being an honorable man or woman who walks with the Most High and knows that by being honorable, you are protected. So that's yet another discussion. So here we go. We are going to wrap up the presentation now. I just want to say, hey, again, I'm your futuristic tax coach, Jenna-D Scott. I have put together a little ebook with these indisputable facts if you would like to go and sign up for our mailing list so that you are getting newsletters and updates about happenings in the tax. And there's a lot happening right now, actually. We have a president that is talking about abolishing the IRS and getting rid of taxes on tips and things like that. So there's a lot going on. And if you'd like to stay abreast, this is what I like to keep my nose in all day long. Please go ahead and you can request the free download, and get on our list and keep in touch. Because if this is new for you, it's great to continue educating yourself. And sometimes people learn in a better drip fashion, or you just want to be a part of a community of people that are conscious of these things. And so you're invited. I invite you to download this little ebook here. And I also invite you to connect with me. Now, I probably should have put an American phone booth here because these are British phone booths and we're in America here. But you get the idea. I would like to connect with you. Here's my phone number, 423-362-7958. Now, that is a work office number. And office hours are from Tuesday through Friday from noon until 5, I believe, or 11 to 5. And then Saturdays from 12 to 3. Don't answer it all the time. Please leave a message if you really want to talk that way, or go ahead and send me an email or get a hold of me somehow through my website. This is a QR code, I believe, to the website, so we can stay in touch. And finally, I would like to just say that knowledge is power. So you can maximize your refund. You can recoup your erroneously made previous tax payments. You can resolve supposed alleged tax issues that you've been maybe fighting for a while. We've helped our clients to resolve those amicably and honorably. And if I didn't say maximize your refund, we want to maximize the amount that you are getting back. And we have some amazing products. So check out the Lawful Money Redemption, check out the Normie tax resolution package, and look at Project 1040X, which we're very excited about. And there is another presentation all about that. So check that out. Or if you just want to know if any of this would even be appropriate for you or what it would entail, then you are free to book an appointment. We do a 20-minute complimentary tax discovery call where we can figure out what product would be best for you and just get the initial information about your situation to give you, what we think would be best for you. And we're not going to just take you if you're not ideal, if you're not suited for what we do, but we will send you away with some helpful resources. And what else do we have? I'm trying to think. We're also available if you have a more complicated situation and you really just want to talk to somebody, for an hour, you can book a consultation, a paid hour consultation where we'll just focus on you. It's a recorded call, so you get the recording afterwards, you get minutes, and we really dive into, your unique situation. So you're invited to make a booking there as well. And I did not add it to this slide or add a slide about this, but we are now getting up and running on all of the social media platforms, the main ones anyway. I'm still waiting on Truth Social to be accessible from the computer, so that might take a minute. But we've got Substack. We're going to be starting a podcast there. We've got YouTube. The podcast will also be posted there. We'll be setting up an Odyssey, Facebook, Instagram, X. I spent a lot of time on X. My main ones are probably going to be YouTube and X, to be honest, because it's hard to manage all of them. And then the other ones will just kind of get fed what we're doing on those main ones. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones. Can't think of it off the top of my head. So anyways, visit the website, jennadscott.com. We'll be keeping everything updated there. And last slide, we have some references here for you in the tax code and the Code of Federal Regulations, the statutes at large and what those look like, what that means. And FindLaw is a great site to look up statutes, codes, ordinances, etc. So on that note, I am going to sign off. This has been your hostess, Jenna-D. Scott. Remember that knowledge is power, and we will be talking to you soon.